And Tim, are we ready to go?
I am ready when you are. We're a couple
Alright.
minutes late, but let's get going. So good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. If we could all please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. So Kristen, if we can call roll call, please.
Bruce Angel,
Here.
Mike Thomas, Tim Dean,
Here.
Dan Berg,
Here.
and Yvonne Van Ornum.
Here.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. So Chair asks for a motion for approval of agenda.
I move
Move
to
to-
approve. I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Looks like we're good on that. At this time, we are going to be moving on to old business, which is some information that we covered last week. And at this time, I'm going to be turning the meeting over to Vice Chair Commissioner Angel, who will be taking it from here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you know, last week we had 3 public hearings. Because we were unable to go live, we changed the process a little bit. For each of these items, the public comment period was closed last week, leaving time today for deliberation and vote by the commission. But prior to that, we'd like to hear from staff as a reminder for PLN 672, AMC 20.36.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Co-Chairman. So planning number 672 is our proposed zoning changes to our land use code. Because the city currently only has 3 different zones within the city, we are looking to increase that and add 2 additional zones so that we can avoid going from a residential moderate density zoning to an RHD, a residential high density zoning that would abut each other. So what we're looking for is to increase that incrementally for capacity so that we can go from a low capacity designation to a moderate capacity, to a medium capacity, then to a high density. And so this will allow us to feather intensities throughout the city in our land use processes. Also, there was some renaming of these zones. So the 3 zones that currently exist, these are just renames only. There are no capacity changes to those 3 zones. So that's just a reiteration of what the proposals are for zoning changes.
And do we also create the
The commercial zone.
commercial zone?
Yep.
Absolutely.
So this is to designate the Smoky Point corridor as a commercial corridor, as opposed to what it currently is now, where it just had the overlay applied to it. This actually will change the underlying zoning to a commercial designation. The underlining or the mixed use overlay still applies to that corridor, though.
Any comments from commission?
I just had one question. I'm sorry to bring it up before that. So that it looks like the TDR overlay zone is going away. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's already been extinguished.
Okay. No further
Any
questions.
any more comments? Questions?
None for me.
No.
there a motion?
Are we asking for a motion? I'm sorry, is that what?
Yes.
Mhm.
I motion to approve.
You want-
Sorry, I thought Jan was gonna say it, sorry. I motion to approve plan for PLN number 672.
Okay, it's been moved that the planning commission recommend to council approval of PLN 672, modifications to AMC 20.36. Is that the nature of the motion?
Yes,
I'm sorry,
There
do
a
we need a, motion? I'm sorry, do we need a motion to close the hearing or is that,
No, we don't. We have to vote first.
okay.
So there is now a motion on the floor that's been seconded. No, it hasn't been seconded. We need a second.
Sorry, I'll second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve, that we recommend to council passage of PLN 672 AMC 20.36. All in favor? Aye.
aye,
Opposed? The motion carries, and that ends the public hearing for PLN 672 AMC 20.36. That hearing is now closed. We now move on to the public hearing for PLN 675 AMC 20.40. As with the previous hearing, this hearing had its public comment period closed. We now ask staff for a reminder of PLN 675.
Thank you. So PLN 675, as you might recall, is not an amendment to the comprehensive plan, but it is an amendment to our land use code. And it's the permissible use table that's within Title 20. In research and as one of the projects that came forward, the definition of the business park allowed for certain things to occur, offices and uses such as physicians, professionals, attorneys, insurance stockbrokers, government office buildings was, per the definition of the business park, allowable. In researching this, as we went through a permissible use table, that use was not permissible. And so whether that was through just Scrivener's error of the permissible use table or in the creation of it or during one of the amendments to that permissible use table, it got omitted or it got omitted from that table. And so we're just correcting that to make sure that the definition of the business park and the permissible use table are in alignment with each other.
Thank you. Any commission comments? Questions?
No.
I'm here now, by the way. This is Mike. I was having technical problems.
Thank you.
Did you catch that last bit on PLN 675, Mike?
Yes,
All right, if there's no further comment or questions, is there a motion?
I motion to recommend to council to approve PLN 675. Is that the right way to say it?
It's been moved that commission recommend council approve PLN 675, amending AMC 20.40. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I
Opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing for PLN 675 AMC 20.40 is hereby closed. We move on to PLN 666, which is the airport rezone. Same situation here. Public comment period closed last week. So staff reminder.
Yes, thank you. So this is a rezone is the map you can see on the screen. The pink area is general commercial. Then the light blue is the business park. So if you look at the map, you can see to the north all the business park area, and then the business park area that is identified that's abutting 172nd there. That's where Stillaguamish Athletic Club and the Weston High School are located. So the proposed rezone is to reduce the existing general commercial area and increase the business park area, as you can see depicted by the map here. We have found that the market dictates that the change to business park is being required. There's demand for the business park area to increase. There is no demand for the general commercial to increase, and so we've reduced that accordingly. We still control the business or the general commercial out along the corridor where it's intended to be, where you have visibility to the motoring public here. And so that's the proposal of this, the airport rezone.
Any comments or questions from commission?
None for me.
No,
Lacking that, is there a motion?
I motion to recommend to council to move PLN 666.
It's been moved that commission recommend passage to council of PLN 666, the airport rezone. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing for PLN 666 airport rezone is hereby closed. We move on to new business, but before we get to the public hearings, we have a presentation on the 6 and 20-year transportation improvement plan. I might interject a little bit that one of the reasons for doing this is to get a better understanding of some of the transportation planning that is going coincidental with the growth, rather rapid growth of the CIC.
Thank you. So I'd like to touch on our, excuse me, 20-year transportation improvement plan. So as you can see on the map here, my mouse is not cooperating at all for whatever reason.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's interfering with our.
There we go.
Kind of.
Yeah, it's slow.
It's delayed.
So I'd like to point out the first roadway section that is on the 20-year transportation improvement plan. This is the alignment of 169th Street. And so if anybody's aware of the construction out at Smoky Point Boulevard at the intersection of 169th, so for a landmark, that is the roadway that goes back into Lowe's. So the apartments that are being built on the east side of Smoky Point Boulevard, that's the Affinity project. And in front of Affinity is Magnolia Place, which is a memory care assisted care facility. But in part of that development, they were required to build the roadway alignment through their development to the terminus of their property, which puts them right about here. From that point forward, behind Bulldog Storage and Walmart is a segment of the roadway that will be the city's responsibility to construct. And we're looking at funding sources for that currently. From 43rd, which is the street that goes into Walmart, this will be constructed through 3 different parcels through private development. This one up above here is the National Food property, which we'll be discussing later. This is a 20-acre parcel privately owned. And this is a 20-acre parcel privately owned where the Outpost project is going, which was formerly known as 51st Avenue Urban Village. And so this 169th alignment will be constructed all the way out to 51st. 51st are improvements on 51st that are being planned for expansion of that and a proposed roundabout at this intersection is being created. Moving eastward on the 169th alignment, this goes across airport property. That will also be a city-funded project all the way to 59th. At 59th, there's a project, the North Point project, which this roadway will then create an intersection at 59th going into the North Point project. But this will give us the ability to run all the way from Smoky Point Boulevard to 59th, bypassing 172nd and then coming back out onto 59th, which would then take you northward on 59th Avenue and then out to 67th. The next project on our proposal here is the 40th Avenue intersection improvements and the 173rd alignment. Both of these are funded, and so 40th was built with the AMWA project, Baker Moore. That would be the east side of the Cascade Skagit Healthcare Alliance building. So if you've seen the new roadway it's built there, that's 40th Avenue. 173rd will come off of Smoky Point Boulevard and tie into 40th. And then this will become a U-turn intersection, fully signalized at 40th. So that as part of that project, those left turn pockets along 172nd will be closed off. You will then be able to come down 172nd to the U-turn intersection, make the U-turn, and then be able to get into and access any of the businesses on the north side of 172nd. We'll also provide for a signalized and controlled pedestrian crossing across 172nd over to the Gateway project over there where the Safeway and all those other out parcels are at. As another project that is in the planning and under construction currently, this is also developer born. This is the 63rd alignment. Let me get over to it here, which will make a connection all the way from 188th up here down to 172nd with the proposed roundabout at 172nd. This serves the bulk of our manufacturing industrial area, the Cascade Industrial Center. And 63rd currently continues up to the north now, which takes you out to 197th and out to 67. But this provides an alternate connection all the way through the manufacturing industrial area, which runs parallel to 59th. One thing that I do want to point out, because this has been a subject of the public's over the last few years, is this segment of roadway on 172nd between 67th Avenue and Highway 9. And so this is has not been on any type of a list that there could be mitigation collected from it. But we are now have the knowledge that this is now on a what's called a candidate list. And so it is identified by WashDOT, and as that moves forward, it will be then identified as a project by both WashDOT and Puget Sound Regional Council, making this roadway segment available for mitigation to be spent on it from any development that occurs along that alignment or any development that in the unincorporated county that utilizes the 172nd corridor to get out to I-5. Pardon me. So as I said, a lot of these projects, they're all in planning, but the majority of them are actually in different phases of construction as development occurs in these areas. It's just a matter of coordinating that the constructed segments of the roadway with the unfunded portions of it in order to make a complete roadway connection. But that's where we're going with this, and we are being very diligent about these transportation projects. If you'd like to see all the projects that are on the 20-year TIP, please go onto the city's website, go under Public Works and look under the transportation plan. So the 20-year gives us the 20-year planning horizon for all these projects. But on an annual basis, we update our 6-year TIP, which is the more operational portion of our transportation plan. So both of those are available for your viewing on the public website. With that, one of the other things I'd like to bring up is that we have actually hired a consultant to start on design for the Smoky Point corridor. And so that corridor study will begin with the design for Smoky Point Boulevard to come out of that study with construction documents moving forward with that. So there will be public participation that's occurring throughout this whole process. And so over the next few months, you'll be getting notifications about whether they're virtual or not, but there will be public meetings that are occurring, and we'll be soliciting for public comment on this corridor planning. The last one I will touch upon, pardon me, is 204th Street. And so we have some development occurring on the 204th between SR9 and 67th Avenue. So there's also a roadway section that is viewable online for the 204th Street corridor, which shows the drop lanes and the on-street parking with a planted median corridor for a boulevard through there. So that is viewable online. And if you have questions, you can definitely call either Public Works or the Community Economic Development Department with your questions, or email us at any given time. So with that, that's hitting on the bulk of the projects that are currently underway. There are multiple projects going on there, but without having to spend too much more time and going in the detail, I recommend that you go to this map, look at the list of projects that are being proposed, and then do follow up with either department on this transportation plan. So thank you.
Any questions?
What are the numbers referenced? I mean, I know there's a missing part on that map. They all have, there's little numbers all over it.
Yep. So there's the list. So all those numbers represent the project numbers on this list.
Okay.
So that'll give you a description of what the project is and what the proposed timeline is.
Okay.
The highlighted ones are the ones that are on our 6-year TIP.
Any further comments? Lacking that, we'll move on to our public hearings. Like to open the first PLN 663 rezone for Lot 19 LLC. Staff?
So the applicant is requesting the rezoning of a 14.36 acre lot from residential moderate density to residential high density. Approved by the city council is required for all rezone applications. If the request is granted, the city's comprehensive plan, land use map, and the city's official zoning map would need to be amended. So just to familiarize you where this location is at, this is along the new alignment of Arlington Valley Road. So this would come off of 204th Street, run by the old Hagen's building, continue along this alignment, and then come out at 67th Avenue at 191st. And so you can see where this proposed rezone is occurring here. It abuts the Arlington Terrace properties, which is the green area that I'm pointing out here. That would be to the south, and abutting SR9 to the east, and abutting RMD to the north here, and abutting in general industrial here on the western edge of that property. The property is encumbered by numerous critical areas, 2 streams that run through it. So it's fairly limited to the amount of development that could occur on it. The proponent has indicated to us that they're proposing to do townhouse development in this property where the development could occur outside of the critical area buffers.
I'd like to open the public hearing for public comment. Have we any?
We do. And I will read that. We received a comment. Oh, okay. Well, I'll just go through this comment. Wait, he has a comment on it. This was received this afternoon. This is from a Mark Ferguson, who is the owner of B&B Fabricators. They are located right across the street from the proposed rezone. And so Mr. Ferguson points out that we are located at 7301 197th Place Northeast. We are very concerned with rezoning to residential high density. We are a structural steel fabrication facility. We work a swing shift into the early morning hours. While our employees try to be mindful of the noise they are generating in the evening hours, it is unavoidable at times during the load out of a semi truck or handling of structural steel from the yard into the shop and vice versa. Our concern is that with a residential high density, noise complaints will be excessive to the city of Arlington against B&B Fabricators, to the point where we will be pressured by the city of Arlington to curtail our current zone business practice and hours. Bottom line, to do so would affect our profitability and livelihood. What is additionally concerning here is apparently there was a public hearing already on 3/17/2020 and 4/21/2020. To our knowledge, we have never been included in being provided information until now. So I will speak to that. We sent out notification of both of these meetings and the proposed rezone to the entire city twice now on postcards. So I don't know what happened to the postcards identifying the projects and location, but they were sent out in a mass mailing twice. So
Okay, are they on they come through in like a 3x5 card type of a notification?
correct.
Okay, great.
Mr. Bergeson, would you like to speak to this any further?
No, I think you covered it. We just, with what we do, we don't have an option of using rubber forks on the forklifts or nothing, to kind of keep that noise down. We're pretty mindful of it because we know we echo up you got Glen Eagle up the hill as well, and a couple other communities or housing development. But I just, this townhouses, it looks like they're pretty limited anyway with the like you say, the streams or the wetlands through there. But I just really wanted to get on here and see what you guys are about and make sure that our comments were heard here. We're a little sensitive to it because we used to be in Seattle, the Inner Bay, Ballard area, and eventually we joined your fine community up here over noise complaints and some other issues. So
It's definitely a valid concern here. And so I think that Planning Commission will have a conversation about this.
sure. Okay. Fair enough.
Any other public comment? Okay, we'll close the public comment portion of the hearing. In the cases where we've had multiple public hearings on the same evening, what we've tended to do is to have the public comment period and then wait until these are all commented on by the public and then discuss and vote on each one separately. Lacking objection, I'd like to do that again tonight, in which case we will since we've closed the public comment period, we'll move on to public hearing, open the public hearing for PLN 667, a rezone for the Corner 9 properties.
Thank you. So the request is for a rezone of the neighborhood commercial property identified here in the salmon colored portion of the map. And so this is a rezone of a 2.37 acres from neighborhood commercial to residential high density. As you can see, residential high density surrounds this proposal except to the south. So everything leading into the old Grafstra site here is residential high density. That was done by the original ownership of this property as a part of their annexation into the city of Arlington. They requested us and required us to both rezone the property to residential high density and to rezone the portion you're looking at, the neighborhood commercial, as such, simply because the dairy was still in operation and the store that was associated with the dairy was still in operation at the time. So the original owner wanted to make sure that he could still conduct business on the property, knowing that eventually this would be redeveloped in here. And he knew what it was going to redevelop to. That's why he required it to be residential high density. So looking to the, what would be the west of the proposal, you can see that this is Gilman Avenue. And there's a residential high density all the way along Gilman Avenue down to, I think it's just shy of Broadway. I don't know that it goes all the way to Broadway without looking at this map, but you can see that there is a large percentage of high density within this area. And like I said, this the only reason that this neighborhood commercial was created was at the insistence of the property owner during the period of annexation of this property. For there to be a neighborhood commercial property there now, it would not support itself. There's no interest and to have a neighborhood commercial use on this property because of the close proximity to other amenities within the area.
We'll open the public comment portion of the public hearing, or do we have any?
Yes, Mr. Chair. My name is Brian Gentry. I'm affiliated with Corner 9 Properties. We're the developer of the former Country Charm dairy site. We've been working with Mark and city staff the last couple of years here to go ahead and get the to permit in the Gilman Walk neighborhood, which I believe has been through before. We have a conditional use permit. We have approval for the townhome site there that will really allow for a connection of an extension of Gilman all the way down to the Country Charm natural area. And so it's certainly an exciting, I think, project and an exciting opportunity here, I think, to build out this corner of the city. This is really the last permit we need in place to go ahead and be able to go ahead and actually move forward with this development. It'll be 115 townhomes that was previously approved, subject to this rezone. And, as Mark mentioned, probably many of you may be familiar with the old Country Charm dairy that was there. Back in the day when it was fully operational, they had their store there and a lot of other things. And since that time, since they're no longer in operation and the Grafstras themselves are no longer on the property, certainly this is a pretty natural transition as we're looking at how to maximize this property, how to optimize this property within the old town footprint. And kind of make a nice gradual extension here. Staff's been great to work with. We've been appreciative of this. We were hoping to have been having this conversation with you folks back in April, but obviously with COVID and a lot of things that have delayed things, it's taken a little while before we could get here. With that, I also have my colleague Anna Nelson, who is with our team. She is a land use planner and project manager who's been working closely with staff on this. So Anna, do you have anything else to add to what's been said?
other than it just has been a long time since the annexation. That was back in 2013, and there's been a lot of change and nothing commercial happening on the property now at all. So we request your approval or your recommendation to the council to adopt it.
Thank both of you. Any other comment? Lacking that, thank you very much. We'll close the public comment portion of the public hearing and move on to PLN
Actually-
7.
I'm sorry, I'm new to this whole Zoom meeting situation. May I make a comment?
Yes, we'll just need your name and address for the record.
Sarah Gonzalez, 6823 211th Place Northeast. All right, am I good to go? Sorry.
Yes, please limit your comment to 3 minutes.
Sure thing. I am trying to understand what you guys are trying to do here in this area. I saw some sort of plans for the 100 and some odd townhomes you were discussing. And I do remember Country Charm Dairy being that business and where you go and get candy and stuff after school. So I personally don't want to see our history, our town's history gone. So I'm curious, in the rezoning that you're requesting, are you planning on keeping the buildings like the barn and the shop where we used to get our candies? Because I think that would be really cool for you to build and create the new while we keep the old and respect our history. And again, I'm sorry, I'm trying to follow everything that's happening, but it's kind of hard to understand. So that's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Want to respond?
The applicant wants to.
You want to see if the applicant wants to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
does the app- You want to respond, Brian?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, certainly, what we're doing here tonight, and maybe again, Mark could add to this, we're not, this really isn't a project application. The townhomes themselves have already been approved subject to the rezone. Unfortunately, we did do some analysis as to whether or not, maintaining the existing buildings would make sense. And unfortunately, they did not. There is no plans to retain existing buildings. Unfortunately, they're pretty functionally obsolescent and are not able to be, we're not planning incorporating a preservation of those into what we're doing.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Brian. Did that? So any more comment, public comment? Then we'll close the public comment portion of the Corner 9 Properties rezone request and move on to PLN 721 National Foods.
Thank you. So the National Food Rezone is not on our annual docket, but it is being heard thanks to COVID during our normal docket process here. So it is being heard during all of our other docketing items, which does meet the intent of the RCW. And so just to get into this, this rezone request is for the rezoning of a 75.12 acres of highway commercial with a mixed use overlay and a redesignation, rezone to a light industrial use. The project action allows for future development of property, which proposes up to $230 million in capital improvements, as well as job creation moving forward here, and an employment opportunity to the city of Arlington. And so, like I said, this was outside of our normal docket, but it is, as I stated, occurring during our review of all the docket items. And so we are doing this under a what we're calling an emergency rezone. It's really an emergency rezone premised upon our city requirements, our city code, which only allows for the docket process to be heard once a year. And so that's what we're accommodating tonight, so. And I know that the applicant would like to speak to this project this evening, and I believe he is ready to do so.
Okay, in that case, we'll open the public comment portion of the public hearing.
Thank you. David Toyer with Toyer Strategic Advisors, 3705 Colby Avenue, Suite 1, Everett, Washington, 98201. I am the consultant, economic development and land use consultant representing Panattoni, who is the applicant for this comprehensive plan amendment and rezone. As staff stated, this is a rezone to 75 acres to take it to light industrial consistent with the Cascade Industrial Center sub-area plan. The genesis for the request at this time out of the regular docket cycle is that it is responding to an immediate non-speculative development opportunity whereby there is a party interested in locating a business at this location. The thing that would stand in the way of that happening would be the zoning and comprehensive plan designations that currently stand. Unfortunately, the processes oftentimes in Washington can take quite a period of time, and we're looking at January of next year being the next application deadline with a decision sometime next year. And in the world we live in with pandemics and everything else, delaying a lot of these different processes, that really is not a time frame that would work in order for a site selection decision to be made to bring this project to Arlington. That being said, the issue, as staff pointed out, is that the code currently has a limitation that for the docket to be considered in a given year, it needs to be in by January 30th. So the emergency in this case is to bypass that. That's something granted the planning director, community development director, and the council within code. We're still able to go through the full public process, which is why we're here this evening. But we would request your support of this comprehensive plan amendment and rezone. It is a very significant opportunity for the city of Arlington and really benefiting both Arlington and Marysville with an estimated job creation of 1,600 employees and approximately $230 million in estimated investment in this project. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have this evening, but I just want to point out that this is kind of a rare circumstance to have an economic development opportunity moving forward, not only in a pandemic, but what is now classified as a recession nationally. And this is an opportunity to create family wage jobs in the city of Arlington, which is very consistent with Arlington's initiative and really Arlington's emphasis for being a part of creating the Cascade Industrial Center. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment?
Wants to comment from their team or? No.
Good.
Lacking further comment, we'll close the public comment portion of the public hearing for National Foods and move on to PLN 729 North Point Development Emergency Rezone.
Thank you. So the applicant, North Point Development LLC, is submitting a rezone for a non-project action located at 6600 172nd. This rezone will be, because the parcel is currently split zoned between general commercial and light industrial. And so the request is to do a rezone, take out the general commercial and turn that portion of it into the light industrial. So this entire property would then be zoned light industrial. This is also an economic opportunity for the city of Arlington. As this project moves forward, there is an applicant proposing to construct a very significant project in this area. This project will fit between both the cities of Marysville and Arlington. and it is within our Cascade Industrial Center. And so that being said, same situation here where it is outside of our normal docket period, but it is considered an emergency rezone through our land use code. So with that, the applicant's representative would like to speak to the project on this also.
Okay, we'll now open the public comment period of the public hearing for PLN 729 North Point Development. So,
David?
Yep. David, good.
Thank you, Vice Chairman and Mark, for letting me have an opportunity to comment on this. David Toyer with Toyer Strategic Advisors, Inc., 3705 Colby Avenue, Suite 1, Everett, Washington, 98201. Applicant in this case is also a client of ours, and we're working with them on what is a very large project encompassing approximately 426 acres in Marysville and Arlington, both jurisdictions. The size and scope of this project are completely within the Cascade Industrial Plan subarea. And one of the main components of this is a need to relocate Edgecombe Creek. We've got to go through a number of different processes in order to be able to get to that point of having all of the approvals in place, because there are local, state, and federal approvals involved in being able to get that stream relocation done. We've also got a significant amount of coordination that needs to take place with the tribes in the area, as the stream is a fish-bearing stream. Given all of that work that needs to go into this thing, the certainty and predictability of having this entire site, which is in the Cascade Industrial Center subarea plan, zone light industrial is really significant. And part of that is we need to be able to show to the agencies that we are gaining approvals from that this site does actually have a viable chance to move forward. And the most significant element of this particular part of this parcel of this larger envisioned project is that Edgecombe Creek enters this area underneath the BNSF railroad tracks near the northeast corner of the area being requested for a rezone. We think one of the significant opportunities here is that this project will be located along the entire stretch of where Edgecombe Creek needs to be relocated. That allows us to do a cohesive relocation and stream restoration effort, which should provide a substantial amount of ecological benefit and habitat restoration that is badly needed in that creek area. And so in order for us to be able to, like I said, work with all of the agencies and gain all of these various and pretty substantial approvals, we really need to show that the viability of the project is there. And part of that is we need the consistency of having the zoning be coordinated and consistent throughout that entire section. We ran an economic impact analysis for our clients on this particular project, and just wanted to point out that depending on the ultimate tenant mix at the build out of this industrial park that my clients are proposing, the forecasted job creation would be somewhere between 3,100 and just under 5,000 jobs. And we're really looking at a situation of a rough capital investment in this case, just to get the project completed and shell buildings constructed, not including things that people may put into the buildings, somewhere in the $400 million range. And obviously that has a substantial impact to the city of Arlington, not only in the form of REIT taxes that get paid on the sales of property, but also sales taxes on construction, property taxes that will be paid in the future on what will be significantly higher valued property once structures are completed. And so this has a significant amount of benefit for the community. The last one I missed was really the increase in permit fee revenues at a time when oftentimes when communities go through recessions, pandemics, those sorts of things, revenues start to trail off. One of the areas that's most affected typically is the planning departments, and they're often reliant upon permit revenues to come in, to support those services that are otherwise supplemented by general funds. this is a really great opportunity for the city of Arlington to make some decisions and start to move the ball forward and being able to look at your long-term economic recovery and really the long-term success of the Cascade Industrial Center sub-area. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have, but in my opinion, staff has done an excellent job with their staff report of laying out what this project is and the significance, as well as the need for the action at this time.
Thank you. Any other comment? Lacking that, we'll close the public comment portion of this public hearing. And that concludes all 4 public comment portions. So going back to PLN 663 of the rezone of Lot 19 LLC, it's time for commission deliberation and a decision. Any comment or questions from commission?
Yeah, I had just a clarification. So the business is located in the GI zone, is that correct?
I'm
The
sorry,
the business that spoke, the existing business?
B&B. Okay, they're directly across the street from this location. See where that cul-de-sac is that's off to the west? Yeah, the cursor's on it right now.
Yeah, yes.
So that parcel just entering into that, just west of that, there you go. That's B&B's property.
Okay, so they're in the general industrial zoning.
Correct.
Okay.
Any
But
other
there-
comment?
I have a few questions. When B&B fabricators brought up the noise, are there already any noise complaints from any of the other businesses, or have they had any noise complaints already from anybody that's already there?
Nothing that we've identified. As Mr. Bergeson said, they're pretty cognizant of their operation and what's surrounding them. But they do run a swing shift there, and so, you know, at the quietest point of the evening, you know, they have activity that's occurring. So it's definitely a valid concern of theirs to have that addressed, and whether or not, you know, that would be a pre-existing condition. We could actually write that into the permit itself, is that, you know, they are abutting a light manufacturing industrial zone in here. And so that type of activity is allowed by use. And they're the new kids on the block here with the rezone. So really they would have to consent to existing conditions of the general or the light industrial area, or general industrial area, excuse me.
Would that affecting anybody coming in new though? Like, I mean, it looks like B&B fabricators and there's a few others in that area, but if somebody new were to come in, then would the rezone just have to like deal with the noise from anybody new?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's in such close proximity to a general industrial area. B&B has been in existence there for a number of years, but that property that you're looking at along the alignment of Arlington Valley Road is all general industrial, and we do have development that's going to occur there. So it is a manufacturing industrial zone. So there will be noise that occurs in this zoning, whether it's existing businesses or future businesses.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So Mark, what part of the process, when in the process would those pre-existing conditions occur? I mean, how?
That would be written into, if this is residential, depending on how many units they're at, it would be included in either the special use permit or the conditional use permit. And so it would be a a requirement of that permit.
Okay,
Just so they acknowledge it. It's, as an example, I'll give the Arlington Airport, with their navigation easement. And so it's a notice to any development that occurs in the city of Arlington that the airport's here, flight activities occur over them. And so they have to acknowledge that, prior to being able to develop.
So, sorry, I'm still a little confused, but does that mean then, because I used to live by the airport and I remember how loud it could be, and I mean, our real estate agent made it clear, but does the same thing happen when you're moving in, that the real estate agent just kind of makes that clear so that you're not getting people calling in and complaining about the noise at 10 o'clock at night?
No, they're pretty much required to, because it's a recorded document against the property. So as the property sells, the broker has to disclose that to you, that there is a navigation easement on the property. The
And so
same would
then
happen.
Sorry.
ahead.
And so then B&B fabricators isn't getting the cop, like, nobody's gonna show up at their door then, and they're not gonna have to deal with that.
Well, what I'm saying is that there has to be an acknowledgement by anything that is developing in this area that is not a part of that general industrial. I mean, this was zoned specifically to allow for manufacturing industrial businesses to locate here with, without the fear of repercussion from their operation. So for the high density development to occur here, they need to acknowledge here are the uses that occur adjacent to your property.
Thank
Any
you.
other Any other questions or comments? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend to Arlington City Council to adopt Lot 19 LLC rezone with the conditions wrote in that Mark has been describing.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. I have a question about the motion. What form does that take? Is that attached to the title? And this would be a little unusual for planning commission. I'm not sure what the bridge is between approval of a rezone for a piece of property like this. We've never done this.
Right. As part of this process, what we would have to do is this, we would evaluate what the levels, the DBAs are from this manufacturing industrial zoning. We would have to conduct that analysis, or the developer would have to conduct that analysis to know what the underlying level of noise is being generated off of these properties. And so, you know, you set that, the state controls that decibel level from both to the receiving property, from the producing property. So without pulling up a DBA chart for that permissible level, I'd have to look at that. But what I'm saying though is this, is that to address this concern, we would look at this and make sure that this was part of our review process and be included in the staff report as to how we would address this. Although you have to remember that this is currently zoned RMD, so there is a residential use allowed on the property.
Yeah. Mike, I know this isn't Robert's rules, but would you accept that the commission recommended council PLN 663 with the provision that the staff address potential noise issues as a result of being adjacent to a general industrial area?
Yeah, I know that, you know, they have the airport fly zone and they also have the right to farm one too if you buy out along next to the Snohomish County. you know, because they produce noise, you know, also, and that's wrote into on your title.
Right.
Right. The problem I'm having is that there is no, at this point, there is no documented noise issue. So for us to basically vote on a conditional rezone seems to me fairly shaky ground, but we can request that staff pursue noise issues.
Yeah, and I wouldn't make your rezone conditional on that. I'm just saying that we would do our due diligence in order to address this through our permitting process.
Yeah, because we can't address future unknown problems that I can see. Is that acceptable, Mike?
Like, well, yeah, but also I'd just like that they are aware that they are going to be possibly purchasing or living next to a piece of property that could potentially cause noise, and they need to be aware of it. That's all I'd just like to have it say, you know, or so that they're aware of it.
Okay.
It's not to limit the manufacturer.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's more to just protect him.
Don't condition the rezone.
Right,
Um,
but just request that staff,
Correct. That just tasks us with pursuing this.
consider
Protection.
potential noise issues.
Right. I think really to address this is that there needs to be, and we've had this conversation recently, is that there needs to be a holistic look at the whole CIC and to look at what acceptable noise levels are that are produced in the CIC. I mean, we've created this zone in order to allow for businesses to conduct themselves here within reason, of course. But, you know, for somebody to move in across the street and then come back and say, you know, they're making too much noise, we want to make sure that they don't do that any longer. There needs to be protection for the zoning, the underlying zoning of the general industrial, so that this can't come back. I mean, we face this on an ongoing basis. When Baxter Pole was in full operation, you know, the Glen Eagle community always complained about them running
The
a
backup
swing
alarms.
shift. Exactly. So it's
Yeah.
not a new issue. It's just something we need to address more holistically than individually.
Is it, and it's my understanding that this project, as it proceeds, will require a conditional use permit.
Either conditional or special use, depending
Either
on the.
conditional or
Yep.
special. And what I'm trying to do is come up with a wording for the motion that makes sense. That doesn't step out of bounds. So the wording perhaps should be something about approval of rezone, or recommend approval of rezone lot 19 LLC with the condition that during the conditional or special use permit process, that noise be addressed, potential noise be addressed.
Correct.
Yeah.
If you want to put in condition on the rezone,
Or, yeah, I don't know how else we address, how do we get from here to there?
How do we protect, I guess, the GI, right?
I'm sorry?
I guess it's to make sure we're protecting them, right? With the general industrial.
correct. I mean, you know,
How do you say that correctly? Mhm.
yeah, we just need to address it. We need to make sure that the whoever purchases this property or develops this property is aware of where they're abutting their property to. So I just don't know whether making it a condition of the rezone
Well, that's not what I'm suggesting.
is the correct way to do this.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I'm just saying we will address it. I can guarantee you we will address and get acknowledgement from this property owner that there are industrial uses that they are abutting.
And are established.
Correct, yeah. Well, and even future, I mean, like I said, there's multiple properties here that are undeveloped at this moment, but they're making application in order to build more manufacturing industrial businesses. And so we have to be able to protect that right and that use of that general industrial zone.
Let me try one more time, Mike. that we recommend approval of the rezone of Lot 19 LLC with underlying concern. The commission wants to express to council underlying concern that the CIC noise issues be addressed relative to adjacent residential properties.
Yeah,
Does that work for you?
yep.
Okay. It's been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second that one.
Moved and seconded. Any further conversation? Lacking that, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we close the public hearing for PLN 663 rezone lot 19 LLC. So we open public hearing for, or the, I'm sorry, the consideration for PLN 667 Corner 9 properties. Commission comments?
I'd like to start out with a question to staff. When we look at the map, if you could pull that up for us, the proximity of any other commercial property around this is fairly far away. I mean, I'm not asking your opinion here, but I'm just saying, well, maybe I am. Does it make sense that we would even have commercial property in this location?
No, it doesn't make any sense. And like I was trying to convey, the only reason that it was neighborhood commercial zoned that way is that in the insistence of the former property owner, Grafstra, to do
Yeah.
this just so he could operate his store associated with the dairy use. When that ended, that was the only reason that any commercial use would be viable at this location. Anyone coming or going from this property has to go by other commercial facilities in order to get there. This would not support a commercial use at this location.
And then my next question is for Mr. Gentry. On this piece right here, I know I've gone by here, of course, is that you have ownership of the property at this time, correct?
Actually, the Grasser family still owns the property. So
Okay.
we're in the process of purchasing it from them, subject to getting approvals and that sort of thing from the city. We anticipate, we'll be closing fairly soon. But
Okay.
is there a specific question you have about the property in its current condition?
Well, yeah, what it was is that, the buildings, once you do purchase it,
Yep.
the buildings, even though I appreciate the nostalgia that's involved with it, it would then fall upon you to upkeep the buildings and find some use for them. Is that correct?
It would, and I think it's worth noting too. I mean, the Grasser family actually have a permit in they're in the process of demolishing the buildings right now themselves. They've actually got a permit in with the CED department that's been issued. Starting Monday, the buildings are going to be gone. All right,
Okay,
and so
that was my next question, that if you knew if there was anything going on, in, what the family itself might be in store with. Okay.
yeah, for the family, I mean, you got to understand, but for the family, obviously the property, they had a long history of the property. I remember going there as a kid myself too. My aunt and uncle live in Bryant. I used to go with them as kids to go get milk there and that kind of stuff. And so, I mean, I'm familiar with it too. It just, unfortunately, if you drive by now, I was just there yesterday, and it's a sad state from what it was, in its heyday. It's pretty rundown. The Grassers are both elderly and in long-term care, Hank and Betty, and they're not able to maintain the property. Their children are not able to maintain the property. I mean, at this point, they need the proceeds of the property to be able to, for their care and maintenance. And so I think it's while we all recognize it as a bit of the city history, and I think that's why, certainly I think it's a great thing that the city still owns the bottom ground, and we're able to honor that history with the name of the Country Charm. And certainly we've alluded to it in the name of our project there, the Gilman Walk at Country Charm. It's segueing to its next, its next stage here.
Perfect. Thank you. That's all the questions I had.
Any other comments, questions from commission? Is there a motion?
I motion to recommend to council to adopt Plan 667 or PLN number 667.
Been moved for, I think I heard you right, that we recommend approval
Yes.
of
Sorry.
667 Corner 9 Properties. It's been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded that Planning Commission recommend to council approval of PLN 667, rezone of Corner 9 properties. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Public hearing for 667 Corner 9 properties is closed. We'll now go to the deliberation portion of PLN, public hearing for PLN 721 National Foods. Comments or questions? Lacking that, is there a motion?
I'll recommend the city council adopt plan number 729.
That's
I'm sorry, 21.
721.
I'm mad at myself.
Close up.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that Planning Commission recommend to council approval of PLN 721 National Foods Emergency Rezone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing for PLN 721 National Foods Emergency Rezone is hereby closed. Now we go to the deliberation portion of PLN 729 North Point Development. Any comments or questions? Lacking that, is there a motion?
Motion to make a recommendation to adopt PLN 729 to the city council.
There's a motion that we recommend to council to approve PLN 729 North Point Development Emergency Rezone. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
We have two. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing for PLN 729 North Point Development is hereby closed, as is the bulk of our business. Mr. Chairman, would you like to continue?
At this time, I want to thank staff and then thank our guests for being here today or this evening. And with that being said, Chair requests a motion for adjournment.
I motion
Move
to
to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
adjourn.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have
Thank
a
you,
great evening.
everyone.